All right. Welcome. We are excited to be here. Thank you for having us. We are excited for this panel, and we've got a great lineup here for you. We have Ram, Geston, and Johan. Thank you for being with us. Let's first just get an introduction of who you are and what you do, what you're passionate about, and we can jump in from there. So Ram, go ahead.
Awesome. Good to see you guys again. I'm Ram. I'm one of the core contributors at Openletcho. We are an AI blockchain that enables users across the globe to monetize data and build better AI models. We've been in the space close to about 2 years. I've personally been in crypto and machine learning over the last 10 years and built a large organization, about 200 plus employees across the globe, did about $40 million plus revenue. And Openletcho is a product that has been in development over the last 2 years, as I mentioned, and it's something that we want to do as a public good for AI, and I'm glad to be talking about that over here. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm the VP of Gaming for Virtuous Protocol. I basically lead the AIX gaming arm in Virtuous Protocol, where we form a joint venture with Sovereign, which is the entity is called Ready Gamer, whereby the Virtuous Protocol provide the AI framework to the games, but at the same time, Sovereign also helps in the integration of the framework into the games. So our current focus is actually building modular AI agents for games in terms of whether to monetize the game, to onboard, or to enhance player experience.
Hello, I'm Johan. Actually, great to be back in, Seoul Meta Week. Last year I was speaking for the Sandbox, but this year I'll be speaking for Gaia. So I'm a career lead for Gaia. Gaia is an open source decentralized AI network that provides infrastructure, compute, and inference tooling that's needed to create and deploy and monetize autonomous AI agents. And we are basically trying to build a decentralized ecosystem to support application that learn, improve, and grow over time. Personally speaking, coming from the gaming background, he mentioned about gaming, but coming from the gaming background, my expertise is in structuring go-to-market strategy for crypto projects in Korea, and eventually help them scale across the APAC region. Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. I love hearing all of my favorite buzzwords coming out. We're talking about decentralization and blockchain. There's so much to talk about around Web3 and AI. And I've been coming to this conference for 3 years now. By the way, my name is Josh Dreen. I am the co-founder of the Work3 Institute and co-author of the book Employment is Dead: How Emerging Technologies Are Revolutionizing the Way That We Work, published by Harvard Business Review. And I get very excited about these emerging technologies, Web3 technologies specifically, and how they are revolutionizing everything. The first time I came to this conference was 4 years ago. And we were talking about the metaverse, and we were talking about Web3. And I think a lot of times those terms blended together, and we weren't quite sure what is Web3, what is the metaverse. So first and foremost, I want to ask, where are we at with Web3 today? Even though the hype has kind of died down a little bit, where do you see these technologies taking us, and why is it important to continue to pay attention to Web3 technologies?
You want me to start?
Please.
So I think now is the time for Web3. That's what I would think. I wouldn't say it's died down because there's so much that's happening across various technology across the globe. Right? Let's take about AI itself. A lot of people need to think about responsible AI. And responsible AI starts with making sure that we don't have like one single centralized party. There's like one kill switch, right? How can we build that? The best way to do that is to make sure there is a decentralized system that enables that to happen. And Web3 enables in 3 different ways for AI or other technologies as well. The first most important thing is resource. We enable users to have resources across the globe at a much more subsidized way compared to like various traditional methods, right? We started with compute, right? Most of the compute problem was solved by Web3 companies by providing decentralized compute at a very low cost because they were able to amass resources across the globe and make people contribute compute. Another one, apart from resource optimization, is verification, right? I spoke about this. Most of the AI today is a black box. You don't know how these AI work at all. Any output that you get from a model, you have no clarity about the data that goes in. You have no clarity about how the data is actually transformed into actual output. Web3 systems like us enable that to happen. We make models much more open than being opaque. Another important aspect out of Web3 is that because of its decentralization, there's natural unbiasedness, right? Most of the AI systems today are biased either on the Western culture or biased on a particular, aspect of that company that's building that. Web3 decentralizes by nature and makes it unbiased. I think these three are very important for any kind of emerging technologies. Let's take AI today, tomorrow it could be AGI. You need to have a system which is not controlled by a bunch of people. It happened on the internet. That's one of the reasons why you have your major companies ruling the internet. With AI, we shouldn't do that because AI is much more bigger than internet. It's going to be like electricity, right? It's going to be part of everything that we do. So if we want to make sure that AI is responsible, we need to have it as decentralized as possible. And that's one way that Web3 can add value to this ecosystem.
Yeah, I really love that. Trustless trust is all about the unbiased element of what you're talking about. And Gaston, I'd love to hear it from a gaming lens a little bit. Why is Web3 important in the work that you do?
I think for me, in gaming, it's when we say Web3 gaming. But what people don't know is that when Web3 games plan to develop a game, they shouldn't just look at the Web3 audience, but they should look at the Web2 audience because we want to onboard the billions of gamers out there rather than just like few millions in Web3 gaming. It also helps a lot with AI now because we can build AI that can actually execute smart contracts and look at on-chain logics and not just back-end logics. So if you take a look, like for example, if you were to build an AI companion for a game, right? The AI companion can do so much more than just what was being programmed. So for example, if we have like an on-chain marketplace, I can tell my AI companion that I want to sell this this item at price A. But if let's say that if it dips below certain supply, if let's say there's only less than 5 in the market, I want to increase the price of 20-30%. I don't have to keep monitoring it, but my AI component can do it. And at the same time that developers might be able to monetize it is that, for example, because AI can now perceive the environment, they are able to actually compute whether what is the best weapon to buy on the marketplace, rather than trying things out. You can actually ask your AI to compute it for you. Fun fact: I actually do it with ChatGPT, but I have to type everything by myself on the ChatGPT, ask them to compute it for me. But now you can have an AI companion that can perceive the environment, actually do computation for you. So I think with on-chain logic, there's so much more that AI can do at this point, rather than just trading and everything. But on gaming, things will make it so much fun. But it also takes time to develop because besides doing it on-chain, we also need to see what kind of programming language that the games are using. For example, are they using Unreal? Are they using Unity? Or if they're on Roblox, they're using LE scripting. So we need to optimize all these AI agents for their programming language. At the same time, which chain are they on? We have multiple EVM chains, Solana, and currently I think Move language as well. So yeah, it takes I think at least 1 or 2 years before we see a very good PMF on the AIX gaming front. Yeah.
Yeah, it is exciting though, because we are moving from here are the games that we play to a true metaverse in my mind, right? Whatever we call it down the road is how do we infuse what we have with AI? How do we make it seamless in the games that we're playing? And I love what you said about ChatGPT's fine, it'll do it today, but you do have to type it in and get the response back. What if it were an integral part of the games that you play? And that brings us kind of full circle around what we can do. And Johan, I'd love to hear your answer to that question as well.
I think, going back to basics, if we think about what Web 1 was, it was, Web 1 is read, Web 2 is read and write, Web 3 is read, write, own. So convergence of Web 3 and AI, we get to actually own AI agents. It's not just using AI agent. So one of the solutions that Gaia provides is that you get to, give identity to AI agent through domain, and you can prove that you're owning it so that you can monetize utilizing that AI agent and sharing that with others. So, as a Sege, incentive is also a big part of this, because with the existing model, not all the contributors and participants or users can get incentivized to being part of the AI ecosystem, because there are so many intricate contributions, and with the existing system, it's hard to reward them. So by using token, it's a way to incentivize all the contributors within the ecosystem and in the system. So I mentioned that Web3 is read, write, and own, but I think because of AI, we are in the nascent stage of jumping into Web4 stage. Actually,
Watch out, Web 4.
Yeah, Web 4. So I think it's gonna be, through AI, I think Web3 can evolve into, read, write, own, and think. So I think that's what AI brings to Web3, and how Web3 helps AI become more decentralized and spread the responsibility and really incentivize all the contributors, and other things in regards to like privacy, data, and also like preventing bias. I think Ram mentioned them. Yep.
We're already talking about Web 4. Here we go. You heard it here first. So one thing that I find is there's a dichotomy. When we talk about decentralization in Web 3, what we're trying to say is we want to make this unbiased. We want a trustless system. We want peer-to-peer. We kind of remove the middleman so that we can trust it. And so there's a trust element. On the other hand, we have AI emerging so quickly, and it is disrupting so many jobs, so many industries. I think the fear is that we can't trust AI, or how do we trust AI, especially if it gets into the hands of a few powerful people who get to make the decisions. They get to design what algorithms we see, what AI. So I'm curious to hear from you, how do we bridge the gap of Web3 moves us closer to trust, and AI, how does AI support us as we move into that world? Ram reaches for his microphone. You can go ahead.
I think the biggest challenge over here is Web3 companies have to make sure that they build a product which has a product market fit, right? It's not like AI companies do not want to explore Web3 systems. Web3 systems have been really talking a lot about decentralization, but decentralization is important only if the product is made useful because of that, right? In AI, if you take a look at it, we spoke about how there is a trust problem. That's a big issue. If you want to have a healthcare system use AI, you want to make sure that the AI system is auditable, right? Okay, sure. Let's say ChatGPT says that I'm going to provide you all the details of what data it went through, how this answer was brought in. You can go ahead and use that. But is it trustable, right? Is it on an immutable record? No. So that's where blockchain comes in, right? Where we can make sure that whatever is said as an answer is stored on an immutable record and it can be verified anytime. Having that in a technology like AI is very important because of how it's going to impact each one of our lives. Because it's not going to be used in healthcare, it's going to be used in finance, it's going to be used even on the cab that I'm going to book, right? So making sure this AI is responsible, making sure this AI is open, is what the next big thing that needs to be focused on, right? As AI starts to grow, which is going to be very fast, Web3 companies have to catch up, make sure they build systems that are making these models open and kind of like trustless, right? And what we've always brought in from a Web3 company is fairness to other technologies. If you take a look at decentralized finance, DeFi, it was a huge rage. And the reason why it was a huge rage is because it supported so many people who were debanked, right? I've heard stories where people have been debanked because of no reason, because just they spoke against the government or they did something wrong. How can we enable better people to have finance management? How can we have people own their finance, not worried about any kind of red tapes that is there? That is what DeFi made sure it happened. A lot of people got enabled because of DeFi. We could do that for AI as well, right? We could build better systems for AI. We could have rails on top of which traditional AI companies can use and make sure they're open. I think it's all about the change. It's all about the mindset as well. Previous generations did not care about data privacy. They did not care about ownership because they wanted convenience better than actual privacy. The current generation is a bit different. We all have educated a lot. We've known about what's happening on the internet. We've known that larger organizations have been consuming our information, our data. We don't get any kind of benefit out of it. We know that there is more transparency. So it all comes down to the mindset. If we want something to be open, if we demand for it, it'll happen. And so it comes down to the builders who are building it and also the consumers that use it as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's interesting because in my conversations, in theory, we want it to be open and we want to adopt the mindset. In practice, in theory, it serves the masses, it serves many more people. In practice, what we see are these powerful leaders, these powerful CEOs who have control of AI. And that's, you see Sam Altman saying the most radical things on, because that gets headlines. We see Elon Musk, we see Claude with Anthropic. And so there's a race for AI right now. And so I guess what I'm highlighting, and Johan and Geston, you can weigh in on this as well.
I just want to add one point. I know that what you're trying to say is that we all have ambitions, but not really comes down to actual implementations, right? So, but if you take a look at one particular organization that you worked, which is one of the largest e-commerce, they wanted to use AI in their product, but biggest bottleneck is that it was not having any kind of auditability, right? They decided to use us so that they can trace and make sure that any answer that comes in, they have a complete auditability of where the data came in and how it was used in a model and what the context it got and what was the answer. Now all of that is on chain and they can verify it anytime. So it comes down to the organization that's going to use AI. If they force, the AI should be responsible. If they force, the AI has to be open. Everyone will change. Larger organizations will change. So it comes down to who uses it and what their demands are as well.
Well, and that's where we're at right now, right? Is we have, let's say a CEO of a large organization who recognizes that Web3 technology will decentralize their power and it will allow decision makers to come up from the bottom for the first time ever. How do we convince them that one, you need decentralization, and two, we need to use AI not just for the good of your company and the shareholder value? How do we do it for the masses? This is the discussion that we're having.
Yeah, of course, I believe that. I think it comes down to, I will let others also add, I don't want to be taking the stage over, but I think it comes down to the mindset of people, how they want to be part of it, how they want to contribute to something and be part of something which is larger as well. It also comes down to that. It also comes down to education as well, right? One big problem with Web3 is that it's not abstracted enough. It's too complex, right? If you can abstract and make things much more easier for people to adapt and use, I think that will just cause a lot of people to start using these, experimenting with these. And once they know, okay, using a Web3 system means I'm going to own my data, I'm going to get rewarded, I'm going to be part of the larger good, then I think more people will participate as well.
Any other comments to add on this?
I think whether an organization actually integrates Web3 or even AI, then the CEO or like the board need to have the pros and cons weighed, right? Because not every single industry requires it. AI definitely, but Web3, I think that's something that people need to look at. So for example, why we have a separate JV for the gaming arm called Ready Gamer between Virtuos and Softfront is because if we were to work with Roblox, they actually don't allow tokenized items in their ecosystem or even work with like project that has token, right? So we need to like keep it separated whether we are a Web2 company or Web3 company, but actually AI works in both. So that's my 2 cents. I forgot what's the umbrella question already. So yeah.
No, that's really helpful. And Johan, I wanted to ask about, because you're working through decentralized AI execution, and there's so much promise there, and we talk about proof of concept, like this is where we could be, but in terms of full-scale deployment, we're still working through some of those challenges. So I'm curious at Gaia specifically, what are some of the limitations and what are some of the promises of decentralized AI execution?
I also wanted to chip into the previous.
Please. we can keep that one hot.
Yeah. So I think that when we talk about Web3 AI, we tend to think that hey, this is gonna change the world in in a couple of years, but I think it's not about replacing what's already there or changing the minds of these big corporate CEOs, but we just want to provide an alternate option to users that, hey, if you care about privacy, if you care about data, if you care about incentives, if you are against biased answers from AI, hey, this is an alternate option that you can have. You don't have to always go for this. You can use this. Just like cars, there are gasoline-powered cars, there are battery-powered cars. So depending on your preference, you use. But at least we want to have options. But at the end of the day, but I think AI and whole Web3 block, to be more specific, blockchain, I think they're very compatible, because if you look at the essence of AI, the focus is on control and efficiency. But if you look at blockchain, it's about decentralization and spreading the responsibility. But it can be slow. But I think when they're converged together, I think it works in the benefit of both sectors, because AI, while maintaining its control, it still can spread responsibility, and network can check and keep it accountable. At the same time, we can help blockchain technology to stay relevant, and also help it not to be fixed to a set rules, but we also help this blockchain technology with the convergence of AI to make to learn from the real world, what's happening in the real world, and adapt and make decisions that are more human. Yep. So
Interesting. I know you just kind of threw that out there at the end, but decisions that are more human. So, Geston and Ram, I'd love to hear you weigh in kind of on what he mentioned is how can we use Web3 to hold those using AI accountable?
Using Web3 to making sure that anyone who uses AI accountable, we do it in a way where we can make sure the models are explainable, right? I spoke about this. I think we've had a couple of discussions on that as well. All these AI that we're using, let's say used for any kind of sector, everything will have a particular outcome, right? If it's going to be used in healthcare, it's going to be used by a doctor who's going to prescribe a medicines to you. And then if it's going to be used by someone who's going to be, let's say, a psychologist, it's probably going to be used to guide you on your life. If it's going to be used by a counselor about your education, it's going to change the way you're going to learn about something. So all of this have very good impact and larger impact in our lives. And it's not going to be just human anymore that will be interacting. It's going to be a human plus AI. In this, we want to make sure, apart from enabling people to get rewarded for the data that they provide, we want to make sure this AI is explainable as well, right? And what do we do with that, right? Every time an AI makes a decision, it's actually based on the data it's been trained on and what it has as a context of that data, right? Me, let's say you both, we both of us will go ahead and read a document, right? And it's the same document that we both are reading. But the context of me understanding something is different from what you understand as well, right? You would interpret it a bit different from what I would, because our upbringing is different, what you've learned in life is different, my culture is different, your culture is different and stuff. Very similarly, AI's context changes every time based on the AI that's being used. So we want to make sure this AI is explainable. The decisions that AI makes, we can go back and track back to the core of data where it came from and what caused this AI to make that decision and give you that out. So I think that's very important once AI gets into a lot of sectors. Having AI more explainable, more clear, more auditable will also make sure that right data sets are added. If it's the AI makes a good decision, there is more data of that added. It's a bad decision, then that's a poisonous data. We enable the data to be removed as well. So I think that's how OpenLedger, that's another part of OpenLedger apart from rewarding data contributors.
Geston?
I think accountability actually lies in like the public logic and also like what's the publicly auditable behavior. So for example, with Web3, we do have the blockchain, right? Every action is being recorded on the blockchain. So we're able to trace back who is actually accountable, right? And another thing is that smart contract actually acts like a gate. So AI can be very creative in what they want to do, but if they cannot execute it, then there will be no consequences. So there are smart contracts in place to ensure that the AI can't just do whatever they want, right? So I think, yeah, to me, it's on the blockchain being a ledger. Another one is smart contract being a gate. So they can, their behavior can be creative, but their execution is structured via smart contracts.
Let's dig into that a little bit more, because the power of the open ledger as well as smart contracts, I understand that it's immutable and that it is something that everyone can see. Help me understand, or give me an example of what that looks like to help regulate AI, or to be able to see, to put parameters on it, or as Ram was mentioning, how do we kind of peer into what it's doing and how it's bringing its data forward?
So we've seen this with an implementation, right? There is a bunch of doctors who are building an AI model around sleep data, right? They're collecting sleep-related information from various parts of the world across races, and they're building a healthcare model on top of OpenLedger. So when you use that model, as a user, you can upload your sleep information. It's going to tell probably what are the symptoms that you might have, like what potential diseases you might have. And how do they do that? They basically collect all of the sleep data. They also collect like body vitals related to your sleep pattern on that particular day. And they're forming a pattern around this. They're forming sort of like an understanding of how your sleep affects your health as well. And the answers given by this model will enable you to kind of like figure out what is the potential symptom you have, and then probably consult a doctor later on. This kind of avoids you going to a general practitioner, and you're going to get like weeks of time to get your appointment, so you could just probably talk to this AI and get an understanding of what's wrong with you. So, but this model, as I told you before, can change a lot of things in life, right? It could cause a good impact or a bad impact. So making sure that we can trace back to what really caused this answer, right, is important. So what really happens over here, a consumer asks the question, and then an answer comes in, and then he's shown on a dashboard from which part of your question was this answer derived on, and from which knowledge base was this answer given to you as well. For a consumer, he can at least see where this data came from and how it kind of understood my question and gave an answer. He's not going to understand every aspect of it, but he has an auditable record. This is how the answer was given. If something goes wrong, he can probably take it to a doctor and say, I asked this question, I got this answer, and this is how my AI actually answered it. Maybe you could use that to figure out something. So having that auditability or sort of like a dashboard, like an interface to look at, is very important. For a larger organization, which is going to, let's say, use for healthcare, it's going to use for logistics, it's going to use for making decisions within the organization, it becomes much more evident, because an organization who needs to make decisions based on an AI means it needs to know how it made. It needs to know where it came from, what knowledge base was used. And again, in their case also, is again traceability, auditability, where they know this data, this knowledge base was used by this AI, and that is why we have made this decision, and they can record it.
I love it. One of the signatures of Web3 is, as you mentioned, Geston, these digital economies. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how do we unlock these digital economies. I mean, for gaming specifically, right? It seems like there's a pretty easy way to look at it now, where it's the weapons, it's the upgrades, it's the Fortnite skins, whatever it is. There's a digital economy that exists today in Roblox, in Fortnite. How can we leverage these digital economies moving forward within a company itself? Geston or Johan, if you want to answer one.
I mean, in terms of gaming, it's likely what I've mentioned before with the AI companions, whether we can unlock digital economies. But at the same time, think of an autonomous marketplace, right? Whereby if AI is actually operating it for the company, they are able to, buy and sell at high and make profit out of it as well through dynamic pricing and everything. That will unlock the digital economy, but at the same time, it can also be, auditable, right? So there's not manipulating the market. There should be like auditable behavior on why this particular AI does this way. So for example, if there's only item A, is selling it at like $1 million, right? But it also like maybe degrade it over time. Maybe every 10 minutes it drops 50% off, that kind of things. So then it will create a more dynamic pricing for this kind of item. So I can only speak of it from a gaming perspective, that this is going to be quite exciting, because one thing is that developers are able to maximize, people who are willing to spend. Of course, there's willing spender, willing buyer, right? So some people might buy at half a mil, some might not. Some might buy at 250K. Whoever that's more willing to pay will grab the item, and later on they might sell it back into the market. Maybe someone is offline and didn't manage to get the item, they're able to flip it as well. So it only comes out from the developer one time to the audience and so on. Yeah.
Fascinating. I love that. In terms of, this question is for you, Johan. I'd be curious how you are using smart contracts specifically at Gaia, and what are the impacts of being able to use smart contracts in business?
Yeah, to explain a bit more about Gaia, jumping into the smart contract part, because being able to kind of verify, what's happening within the system, with the outputs coming from AI and nodes is very important. So, there are kind of two ways of doing so. One is through peer validation. So in the network, there are nodes in the network that constantly check outputs to make sure that they're aligned with what's been declared, so that no one can cheat, or and if performance, so that no one can cheat, pretty much. And once someone also tries to run different method, it's gonna be automatically flagged by its peers. And in order to really make this powerful, we put incentive system, and this is where the smart contract comes in. For nodes to get, they don't automatically get paid by their contribution, but they have to maintain high standards and execute it in the right way, so that they will be able to earn. And the way they earn is through domain-specific smart contracts. And this system helps these domain operators and nodes. Once they do things right, they can earn their rewards. Pretty much, trying to think. I'll stop there.
Oh, it's good. That's interesting. Yeah. So I want to move into a bit of a lightning round here. So you get a sentence or two on this, and you can weigh in how you want. Actually, the first question here is a one-word answer. What is one word to describe the current state of AI and Web3?
Forming still.
Experimental.
They're both right. I would say then evolving, but nascent, or
We got 2 words, 1 word, 3 words.
Evolving.
But
they're all in the same context, I think.
Yeah, I hope that audience, you will take away that these technologies are, like you said, nascent, forming, experimental, and that's part of why it's so exciting, is to get in now while things are being formed, because you hear, especially around AI, that now is the time to...
It's the gold rush.
It's the gold rush, definitely, right? So for those of you who are mere enthusiasts, I would encourage you to join the gold rush and jump right in. Next question I have here for you is, what is the biggest technical barrier?
Adoption.
For me, it would be latency between AI inference and on-chain confirmation.
I'm going to ask you to flush that out for us. Tell us more, Gaston.
I think when we look at like how, let's say you take an AI agent, right? If let's say what it wants is it wants to execute a trade, right? But it also needs to look at the price of that token, right? And the inference to take might take like 2 seconds, but the price might have changed, right? So its accuracy is not that accurate because of the latency. Then at the same time, it needs to do, let's say, hyperliquid to do a trade, right? And to confirm takes like less than 1 second, but there's still a price. The price keeps going up and down, right? That's how fast Web3 is. So that's why I meant by the latency. That includes in gaming as well, because of the latency of like it takes 2 to 3 seconds to respond to a player. Things might have changed in that few seconds. That's why in like we are not looking into FPS or mobile games because of how fast-paced those games are. So I hope that gives a very good understanding for the
Yeah,
audience.
that is helpful, especially for gamers. Johan, what do you see as the biggest technical barrier?
I mean, from my perspective, I think that being ready tech is also important, but I think there are some other barriers in terms of making it approachable and accessible, and also kind of regulatory clarity, especially when it comes to Web3 plus AI, because when it comes to mass adoption, big companies especially, and if they want to get into this space, they want to make sure for them to fully commit, they want to make sure that everything fits into kind of privacy laws and like liability framework and how AI governance works and things like that. So I think we are very still in the early stage in that terms, because these are all still in the experimental stage and being built at the moment. And at the same time, as mentioned, tech is important, but also we want to make sure that there will, it will be accessible to people, so that there could be easy accessibility and like dashboard monitoring AI agents, and also what else there could be, things like that.
Yeah.
So.
It's so fascinating to me, and we've had a great discussion. I'm looking at the last few minutes that we have here. My last question, and I want each of you to answer this briefly, if you could. Where do you see us in the next 3 to 5 years, and what is a step that companies, businesses can take in order to get us there?
Probably physical AI will be a big thing. I would see that happening. Physical forms of AI as agents, where it could be as simple as a robot that's going to clean your home, or it's going to be a driverless car that takes you to your office, or if it's going to be, a vehicle that's going to fly you around, right? So a lot of things with AI will impact our lives, and it's going to be huge. And making sure this AI is responsible and it's built as a public good is something that we need to work on. This comes down to people who are building this AI. It also comes down to people who are using this AI as well. So if you are cognizant of that and build as a public good, I think we'll have a better future.
I love that you mentioned that dual accountability there. Geston.
I think in the next 3 to 5 years, autonomous businesses will mature, whereby the AI agents, there will be a multitude of AI agents working together towards a common goal. So for example, what we're building in Virtuous Protocol with Luna as an IP is that a music studio cluster that has like AI agent that does music videos, content creation and everything under one cluster to actually help Luna grow as IP. So that would replace the the music studios in the future. And the good thing is that it's all on chain. There will be token launched, and people actually invest into these tokens. Every revenue used will be used to buy back the tokens, and that increases the valuation of the token. So that would be a future that I'm looking forward to.
It is both exhilarating and frightening, especially for any music artists that are clinging to the old ways, right? I think you're highlighting that there is massive change coming, and it's something to look forward to. Thank you. Johan.
I think what's really important for next 3-5 years is kind of to have a consensus on how we want to take AI and to till what extent. Otherwise, I think it's gonna be just a mix of everything and just that company kind of going on their ways. And I think that can confuse the way how we want to use AI and how things can be implemented in real world for the real world use cases, because for things to eventually kind of truly mature, it always has to go through the kind of ethical stage, how we want to do this and how far we want to do this. So, of course, there are big companies that are more profit-oriented, but I think there's still, I think there are still efforts, and especially coming from the government side, trying to decide, how can we do this so that it's not going to have an impact of not replacing all the jobs in the world. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, again, something we didn't touch on is privacy, regulation, security. But it has been a great conversation. We thank you for joining us on the panel, and thank you for being here. We hope that you have a great rest of your conference.
Thank you.